You are here for a reason. It doesn't matter if this video came to you unexpectedly, was an algorithm's suggestion, a click out of curiosity, or even a directive you didn't fully understand. You ended up here because something inside you asked for it. It asked for answers, it asked for acceptance, it asked for recognition. And perhaps without even realizing it, you came here because you needed to remember who you are when no one is watching. Remember what you feel, even if you can't explain it. Remember that within you lies a strength that doesn't shout but moves. Powerful, rare, and deeply alive spiritual energy. In this video, we will explore 5 hidden signs that show whether you are one of these souls. But don't expect an ordinary list. Here, you won't just learn about yourself, you will see yourself. And perhaps for the first time, you will understand why the world has always reacted strangely to your presence. Why silence was never just silence. Because people open up to you as if they already know you. Because even places change with your arrival. Carl Jung said that what you cannot see manifests as destiny. And often, your energy has already written stories before you even entered the room. Perhaps you felt that you carry something different within you. A light that no one taught you. Maybe you grew up feeling like you didn't belong or belong to everything at once. But few understand that powerful spiritual energy doesn't manifest with noisy intensity. It manifests in silence, in calmness, in subtlety that transforms the environment without demanding explanations. And this is the first sign, perhaps the most unnoticed, the most misunderstood, and at the same time, the most sacred. Your presence transforms without effort. You don't need to speak much, you don't need to prove anything, you don't need to stand out, you just need to be. And that is enough. You already know this. Even if no one has put it into words, even if no one has confirmed it. You feel it when the air changes, when the climate shifts, when the energy of a place seems to find its axis just because you entered. And it's not about charisma, not about sympathy, and not about social talent. It's about vibrational coherence. The invisible alignment between what you feel and what you radiate. And this is rare, very rare, because we live in a world where most people are in internal conflict. People talk about what they don't feel. They believe in what they don't live. They defend ideas they barely understand. And when you come with your pure presence, wholeheartedly, with non-judgmental silence, something happens. Walls crumble, masks tremble, tension recedes. Have you ever noticed this? Have you noticed how people change around you? As if they were reminded of who they are? As if their soul recognized yours. Even when the mind tries to resist. This is not fantasy, it's vibration. You don't impose truths, but truths emerge when you are near. You don't demand recognition, but recognition appears in your presence. You don't try to heal anyone, but your energy heals without intention. And here the first conflict arises, because being such a presence is beautiful but also lonely. You give without realizing it. You welcome without wanting to. You support without anyone asking. And when you leave, you become light for others, but you are heavy. Carl Jung called this psychic transference, as if others unconsciously pour into you what they cannot contain themselves, and you, with your broad soul, absorb it. But no one asks you if you're okay because everyone believes you always are. You, who are support for others, rarely find support. You, who listen to what no one else hears, are rarely heard. And yet you continue to live. You continue to be a point of light amidst chaos. You remain a safe harbor amidst the hustle. It's still the silence that embraces. But for how long? How long will you hide your strength? How long will you deny your sensitivity, fearing to appear fragile? How long will you try to fit into a world that vibrates to a different melody? You know this. You know you have always been this way. Children look at you differently. Animals approach you naturally. People who have just met you tell you secrets they haven't revealed for years. This is not a coincidence. Your energy offers refuge, but a silent refuge. Not one that says, I will save you, but one that whispers, here you can be who you are. And this is magic because you don't force yourself, you don't pretend, you don't dramatize, you just are, and this is revolutionary. But do you allow yourself to be that for yourself too? Or have you lost yourself in the role of the invisible savior? How many times have you erased your own pain so that another could break through it? How many times have you silenced your own need to keep the peace? How many times have you pretended not to understand just to avoid offending anyone? You feel everything, you are aware of everything, but you have learned to pretend not to feel it to survive. Your soul wants to breathe, but the world demands performance from you. Your essence wants to expand, but the world demands restraint, and you have hidden. But it's time to remember. Remember that your energy is a gift, not a burden. Remember that your sensitivity is wisdom, not weakness. Remember that you came not to please but to vibrate. You came not to dilute yourself but to express yourself. And the first step in this remembrance is acknowledgement. Acknowledge that the transformation you generate is not ordinary, that this silent impact you provoke is not accidental. It's a sign, it's a clue, it's a reflection of what you carry within you. You possess powerful spiritual energy, and the world needs it. Not shaped, not masked, not diminished, but whole. And perhaps that's why you've felt out of place for so long. You weren't strange, you were intense. You weren't inadequate, you were sensitive. You weren't weak, you were deep. And now that you know this, what will you do with this power? Because the next sign will reveal even more. Not just what you feel, but everything you see. Even when no one else notices, even when the world pretends everything is fine, and you know it's not. In the next chapter, we will explore the second sign, the one that shows you are capable of seeing the invisible, feeling the unspoken, and reading the world with the eyes of the soul. But for now, breathe, feel, realize, you are coming home, and your energy is vibrating again. Perhaps no one has ever said it in all its glory, but you already know, you see what no one wants to see. This is not a talent, it's not a gift you asked for. It's more like a channel that has always been open and that you have tried to understand all your life. When you enter a room, you feel it. Even before words are spoken, something inside you already starts reading the environment. The way someone avoids eye contact, the slight tension in the shoulders of someone who smiles too much, the awkward silence that arises between two people pretending everything is fine. You notice it first, and this, although it sounds like a superpower, is exhausting. Because while the world spins fast and shallow, you carry the curse or perhaps the blessing of knowing what is out of place. And not only that. You feel it in your body. You feel that anxiety that wasn't yours. You feel the pain of those around you. You feel the atmosphere in a house even before you touch the doorknob. Maybe that's why you prefer small establishments, real faces, conversations with pauses, simple rituals. You are tired of pretending you don't feel it, but you are also tired of being called intense, dramatic, or paranoid. It's hard to explain to others what your body already knows. It's hard to convince someone that these seemingly perfect relationships are crumbling from within. It's hard to point out that this smiling person is about to break. It's hard to explain why you feel bad where everyone else seems to be having fun. And so you have learned to be silent, to pretend not to notice, to quietly continue, not to interfere, but inside you, the sensations still pulse. Do you remember that time when you felt the tension at work even before the conflict happened? You couldn't explain it. You just knew something was wrong, and a few days later, everything fell into place. That glance that avoided you, that meeting that ended too quickly, that inexplicable absence, or that visit to a friend's house. Everything seemed fine. The conversation flowed. The coffee was served, but sadness lingered in the air. You felt it. There was no music to hide it. There was no laughter to drown it out. It was an old, unspoken pain hanging in the air like dust of memories. And you felt it all, even though you knew nothing about it. Such is your life, isn't it? Reading between the lines, feeling what was not named, living in a world where what hurts you most is not what is said but what is hidden, and what is worse. You often doubt yourself. You think, am I exaggerating? Is the problem with me? But time always confirms it. The truth always comes out too late. And then you remember, I knew it, you always knew. Carl Jung said that the unconscious is what truly guides us, even when we think we are in control of the situation. And you have learned to listen to this unconscious, but there is a price to pay for it, because by grasping everything, you also burden yourself with everything. And when you don't know how to filter it, your body starts to ache, your soul becomes exhausted, your sleep vanishes. How many times have you gone to bed with a tense body, as if carrying the whole world on your back? How many times have you woken up more tired than when you went to sleep? And then comes the cruel doubt, am I unwell, or have I absorbed everything that didn't belong to me? The world never taught you how to deal with this. At school, you were taught geography, chemistry, calculations, but no one talked about how to deal with saturated energy fields, with the unspoken pain of others, with the weight of being a living antenna for someone else's pain. You were thrown into the world without a manual, and yet you survived. You learned the hard way to recognize the body's signals, to respect the soul's warnings, to leave before you exploded inside. But sometimes it's too late. You stay longer than you should. You remain silent when you need to speak. You drown so that another person can float. And it costs you dearly. Maybe that's why you avoid crowds. You prefer the sound of rain to a crowded pub. You hide behind a book, music, or silence. It's not that you hate people. It's just that you can't bear what they don't want to see. You live like in a mirror. A reflection without distortions. And that's why it scares, because the world is used to smooth, shaped, edited reflections. But when they look at you, they really see themselves, and that can be uncomfortable. Have you noticed how some people avoid you without apparent reason? How some people leave after a deep conversation? As if your presence is a spotlight illuminating what they don't want to face. It's not your fault. It's your purity. Your pure vibration, your soul that doesn't know how to lie. You don't need to make an effort. You come, and something changes. And this can be beautiful, but it can also be painful, because not everyone is ready to see, not everyone wants to feel, not everyone wants to awaken. And here arises another dilemma. If my energy is so strong, should I hide it? Should I be silent so as not to disturb it? Should I disconnect to be accepted? But turning off your light means turning off your essence. And you have done this for too long. The truth is that you don't need to fix anyone. You don't need to carry the whole world. You don't need to prove anything. You just need to know yourself, to recognize that this sensitivity is a kind of spiritual intelligence, that this deep perception is a kind of emotional wisdom. And that it can be cared for, cultivated, perfected not as armor, but as a compass. What you feel is real, even if no one else feels it, even when people doubt it, even if they call you exaggerated. You are made of layers that the world didn't teach you, but your soul remembers, and that's why you feel everything, even what is hidden. Carl Jung called this the highest intuitive function. The ability to access the invisible, to translate what cannot be described with words. And this is rare. As rare as you. As rare as the way you see the world. As rare as the peace you find amidst chaos, because you have learned to listen to what no one says. And this is where the turning point lies. You can continue to live away from this sensitivity as if it were a curse. Or you can start treating it as a beacon. A calling, the path back to yourself. And if you feel that it's time to take care of it more deeply, to learn to filter, protect, and understand this energy living within you, then perhaps the next step is right before your eyes. There is material that can help you do this daily, in a simple but deep way. It's the ebook The Carl Jung Method. 5 minutes a day for inner peace and mental clarity. It was created as a conscious refuge for souls like yours. For those who feel too much, pick up too much, and need a safe space where they can return to their own center. Inside, you will find short but transformative practices inspired directly by Jung's teachings. It's like an emotional map that will help you listen to yourself, organize yourself within, and walk in the world. If this resonated with you, the link is in the comments section attached to this video. You will know when the right moment comes to open it. And now, breathe. If you need to, reread this passage. And if you felt something real inside, you are ready for the next sign. Because in the next part, we will talk about the place where your energy heals. About the space that no one understands but saves you every day. Sacred solitude. Yes, the world tells you that solitude is failure. But you will learn that for souls like yours, solitude is a return to the source. And when you come back from there, nothing that is a lie can hold you anymore. See you in the next part. Have you ever wondered why you need silence so much? Why, after a whole day spent among people, all you want is a place where no one asks you anything, where you don't have to smile, explain, or interact, where you can just exist? Most people don't understand this. They think it's withdrawal, coldness, escape. But you know it's not about escaping the world. It's about returning to yourself. It's funny that in a world that is becoming noisier, your soul asks for silence. Not empty silence, but silence that reorganizes. The kind that calms even the thoughts you didn't know you had. The kind that brings a piece of you back. Back to you. How many times have you felt that strange feeling? Have you ever heard someone say, "You're so detached," or even, "Are you okay? You disappear so often," as if your absence is a problem to be fixed, not a gesture of self-care? But let's be honest. When was the last time someone respected your silence without intruding with questions? Few understand that solitude is the place where you restore yourself. Where the pieces that the day broke can finally come together. You don't need crowds, you need inner space. And it's not that you don't love people. It's just that your energy can't endure disorganization for long. Inside you, there is something that conflicts with forced environments, with empty conversations, with the urgency of appearances. As if every centimeter of your skin is a sensor. And when the noise becomes too much, it screams, "Retreat." And you retreat because over time you have learned that silence heals you. Have you ever noticed that after a day spent in solitude, everything around seems brighter? As if someone washed the windows of your mind, as if your heart could breathe easier. But what to do when you don't have that time, when life doesn't give you a break and pushes you from one obligation to another, from one request to another? On those days, you feel a tiredness that doesn't come from the body. It's the exhaustion of the soul. As if your energy is leaking from everywhere, and you barely see where the hole is. Have you ever woken up tired even after 8 hours of sleep? Have you ever wanted to turn everything off, disappear for a few days without telling anyone, not out of rebellion, but because your soul asked for space? Perhaps you have never said it out loud, but say it here in the comments. Do you feel that you need to be alone to return to your center? Just write, "Yes," or "You described me now." Maybe someone will recognize you. It's very important to talk about this because the world doesn't value silence, let alone solitude. Solitude has become a sign of failure, imbalance, that something is wrong. But what if it's the opposite? What if solitude is the healthiest choice you can make? Carl Jung said that he who looks outward dreams, but he who looks inward awakens. And to look inward, the noise must cease. How many times have you tried to understand yourself amidst chaos? Have you tried to listen to your heart when 1,000 voices sound around you? You can't. Your soul needs to listen. And to listen, you need space. Solitude for you is a temple, not a refuge. It's there that you cry without needing explanations. There you forgive yourself without witnesses. There unnecessary words dissolve. And the essential appears. Have you ever noticed that the best ideas come in the bathroom, on a solitary walk, or in the silence after lunch? It's not a coincidence. This life shows you that you are more creative when you are whole. And you are whole only when you are with yourself. But for this, you need courage. The courage to meet yourself without distractions. The courage to listen to what you have ignored. The courage to accept that perhaps your peace requires distancing from what the world calls normal. Have you ever felt this? Have you ever been in a place where everyone was laughing? And something inside you was silent? Have you ever participated in a conversation and thought, "What am I doing here?" It's your purity telling you, this is not your place. And believe me, it's not arrogance, it's sensitivity. You need solitude not to lose yourself, to remember your vibration when the world tries to shape you, to remember that you didn't come here to adapt to any environment but to respect what makes your soul bloom. They say that solitude hurts, but perhaps what really hurts is being with other people and feeling lonely. Have you ever felt this? Have you ever been surrounded by people and felt emptiness inside? Maybe the pain is not from absence but from disconnection. And perhaps that's why, even if you deeply love some people, you need to distance yourself from them from time to time. Not because you don't love them, but because your energy asks for grounding, for silence, for a break. And when you return better. Lighter, more focused, more you. After all, you don't disappear out of contempt. You leave to return whole. But have you respected this need? Or have you sabotaged yourself, saying it's selfishness, weakness, a waste of time? Have you prioritized what truly strengthens you, or are you always at the disposal of others, even when everything inside you asks for a break? Perhaps it's time to look at your rhythms, to accept that your path is different from others, that your energy needs care, that you have the right and the duty to take care of yourself. No one will do it for you. The world won't stop to give you a break. You must create this break, this bubble of oxygen, these silent hugs. And when you do, you will understand something curious. Your energy pulses again, your creativity reappears, anger fades, intuition emerges, because solitude, if lived properly, is not absence, it's pure presence. And if you've come this far, it's because you know this. You feel it, even if you can't name it. So tell me, what is the most transforming moment you've experienced in solitude? Write about it in the comments, even in a few words. Maybe your experience will help someone else realize that they too can bloom in silence. Life has taught you to look sideways, but now it's time to return inward, where no one interrupts you, where no one demands from you, where you can just be, and being is everything. You have been so many people for so many people. You have played so many roles. You have held the world in silence. You have smiled when it hurt. But now it's time to come home because inside your silence, there is a temple. And in this temple, you are whole and safe. In the next part, we will talk about what happens when you return from this temple, when you go out into the world with a restored soul, and you won't need to say a word, everything around you will begin to change. You will discover that your energy reorganizes the environment, and that, even without thinking about it, you transform. It's not easy to explain what happens. You enter a place, and something changes. You don't say anything, don't gesture, don't impose yourself, but the air seems different. A sudden lightness, an involuntary pause, a change in tone. Sometimes someone sighs deeper, sometimes a candle lights without reason, sometimes silence becomes more comfortable than any conversation. Have you ever felt this? Entering a crowded room, and in seconds, you realize that the pace of the conversation has changed. Or being next to someone who was excited, and realizing that next to you, they begin to calm down, without knowing why. This is not an impression. It's what some scientists call the field of coherence. And although for many it still sounds mystical, science is beginning to recognize that bodies communicate in subtle, almost imperceptible, but real ways. The HeartMath Institute in the USA has been studying the influence of the human heart's electromagnetic field for several decades. According to researchers, the heart generates a field around the body that is 5,000 times stronger than the field generated by the brain. And this field affects not only our internal state but also the emotional and physiological state of the people around us. In other words, your presence has an influence even without words, even without actions. It transmits information, and what you transmit reorganizes. But we are not talking about performative, exaggerated, or overly spiritualized energy. We are talking about the peace that comes from coherence, about the calm that comes only from those who have deeply immersed themselves, from those who do not try to prove, convince, or conquer. Have you noticed this? Have you noticed that when you are centered, even those who behave restlessly change their posture next to you? As if something inside recognizes the possibility of rest. As if the surrounding world, chaotic, hurried, disconnected, pauses for a moment under the influence of the quiet purity you carry. This often happens, but it is rarely named. After all, how do you explain that a conversation becomes more sincere just because you are there, or that someone finally managed to talk about an old trauma after years of silence? Just because you listened without interrupting. This is not a coincidence, it's vibration. Your energy works as an emotional accelerator, but not in the sense of pressure, but in the sense of allowing. Have you ever been with someone who made you feel more autonomous, who didn't speak much but created a safe space, with whom time seemed to stop, and breathing returned to its natural rhythm? You have been that person for someone. And perhaps you didn't even realize it. There is a curious story told by an American psychotherapist that goes like this. During a session, my patient fell silent for long minutes. I remained silent, respecting her time. When she spoke again, she burst into tears and said, "For the first time in many years, I felt at peace with someone, and you didn't even say anything." With people like you, this happens constantly. You are remembered more for the feelings you evoke than for the words you say. And there is nothing unusual about people noticing the difference when you leave. Have they ever told you this? Since you left, everything has become heavier. Since you arrived, the house has become brighter. Being with you made me see things differently. Perhaps this even scared you because you did nothing. It was just you. But that's what transforms authenticity vibrating in the world. The world is full of dissonant camps, people who live one thing and say another. People who feel something but pretend it's not so. Environments where tension is so subtle that it hides even in the paintings on the wall. And then you appear. And your energy doesn't compete. It doesn't impose itself. It wants nothing, it just is. And because it is, it moves everything. As if its very presence says, you can stop, you can breathe, you can be real here. But not everyone can handle this. Some run away, others react with irritation. Some blame you for ruining the mood. Not because you did something wrong, but because you deprogrammed the artificial. And when the truth comes out, it's not always comfortable. Have you ever experienced this? Joining a group where everything seemed harmonious and suddenly conflicts arise? You weren't the cause of this. It was your vibration that showed that harmony was just a pretense. And this scares because many people prefer false peace to real movement. There is a saying, when the soul awakens, the ego trembles. Its presence awakens, and when this happens, what was hidden begins to come out. Suppressed feelings come out. Relationships change their configuration. The internal order changes, and sometimes the world blames you for ruining everything. But the truth is that you just remembered what could no longer be ignored. You are a mirror that reflects without distortions. And the reflection doesn't always please. But does it delight or liberate? Most of the time, after resistance comes relief, reunion, transformation. Have you ever noticed that some of the deepest changes happen without you lifting a finger? You just need to be present. You just need to hold on to your truth. It's enough to support the world within you, and the world around you begins to align, as if your purity is a tuning fork for silent adjustment. A woman once commented on one of our videos. Since I started watching the videos on the channel, I realized that my husband became calmer. It's not that he watches them, but I think my energy changed. This is the power of a whole vibration. It doesn't shout, it infects, it organizes. And what is most impressive, it communicates even with the invisible. Has it ever happened to you that a withered plant blooms after you talk to it? Or a shy animal approaches you as if feeling confident? Or even objects that seemed broken start working again after you clean them with intention. This may seem mystical. But perhaps the mystery lies precisely in what the mind has not yet reached. Quantum physics talks about fields of influence, waves, entanglements. Jung spoke of the collective unconscious, where everything vibrates in tune, even without logical explanation. And you are part of this. Your energy touches the invisible. And that's why, even when no one sees you, you transform. But it also means that you need to take care of yourself. Because when you transform, you spend yourself, and if you don't recharge, you break down. After all, maintaining integrity in a chaotic world is not easy. Being truthful in a sea of illusions requires strength. But there is good news. The transformations you generate are real. And even if no one applauds you, even if they can't name it, they feel it. They feel it when you come. They feel it when you leave. They feel it when you just are. You are the pause in which everything breathes. The silence in which everything is heard. The space where everything unfolds. So cherish this presence, take care of it, respect it, protect it, and most importantly, acknowledge what you create. Because acknowledgement is the first step to continue doing it consciously. And now I ask you sincerely. Have you ever encountered a situation where everything changed just because you were there? Leave it in the comments, describe it, tell us, share it. You can become living proof that yes, presence transforms. And by sharing, you will help others realize that they too possess this power. Sometimes all a soul needs is to know it's not alone. There comes a moment when the body no longer lies, when you realize that you can't stay in certain places, have certain conversations, maintain certain relationships. Not because you are impatient or too selective, but because your energy has become a filter. A kind of spiritual radar that pulses with coherence and repels everything that doesn't align with it. And this is not belief, it's awareness, because there is a truth that no one told you but that you have already begun to feel. When your vibration changes, your life changes, people, encounters, environments, conversations, invitations, everything happens differently. Have you noticed? A friendship that seemed strong begins to fade. A place that once seemed cozy suddenly feels uncomfortable to you. A routine that once made sense to you begins to seem absurd. And what's most curious is that no one did anything, but something inside you shifted, a click, a weariness, an insight. From one moment to the next, you can no longer lie to yourself. This is the turning point. The moment when you start living not for what the world expects but for what your soul demands. And then everything changes because you no longer force yourself to fit where it hurts. You no longer fight for what drains you. You no longer insist on conversations that dry up your essence. You start choosing, but not with the mind, with the field. If something compresses you, you step back. If something expands you, you stay. And this simple logic completely changes your path. It's at this stage that many people call you distant, strange, arrogant. But the truth is that you are just returning to yourself. And in the process of returning, everything that doesn't vibrate at the same purity simply disappears. And yes, it hurts because you loved those people, you believed in those places, you dreamed of that project, but love, belief, and dreams are not enough when the price is your soul. Carl Jung said that the encounter with the true self is preceded by the collapse of the false personality. And perhaps this is what is happening to you right now. The feeling that you no longer fit where you once felt at home. The strangeness of the old world crumbling. The awkwardness of realizing that what once supported your life no longer supports your truth. But don't be afraid, it's energetic maturity. It's the moment when your presence begins to organize your reality without much effort, where your inner coherence attracts everything that is ready for your vibrations, and what is not ready dissolves. Have you ever experienced something like this? A friendship that simply dissolved without struggle, without drama, as if life pulled the invisible threads that tied them. An invitation that seemed perfect but at the last moment lost its shine. An idea that once touched you but now means nothing. These are not losses, they are restructurings. As if your soul is clearing the ground, removing dry leaves, making room for the new. But the new doesn't always come as you imagined. Sometimes it comes as silence, as emptiness, as that strange phase when it seems that everything is stopped. You look around and feel that you no longer belong to anything. But you also haven't found what comes next. It's like an invisible bridge between the old and the present. And believe me, it's one of the most sacred moments of your journey because it's here that you learn to support your purity without external proof. You no longer wait for approval. You no longer seek applause. You no longer measure your progress by what others see. You just feel. And what you feel is enough to guide your steps. It's then that you realize you no longer need to chase because everything that is ready to receive your energy comes, and what doesn't come was never yours. But believing this is not easy. The mind tries to control, fear tries to anticipate. The old self tries to restore old patterns, but something deeper inside you knows. You can't go back. Going back means betraying yourself. Going back means extinguishing the flame that has finally begun to burn. And so you breathe, you accept, you allow. And the most beautiful synchronicities happen. That person you haven't seen in years reappears with the exact message. The video that appears on your screen at the right moment. The book that fell on the floor in a bookstore and opened to the exact page you needed to read. A random conversation that turns into direction. Everything begins to guide you, not because you asked for it with words, but because you vibrated with truth. And the universe, which is much more sensitive than it seems, responds to vibration, not to request. Have you realized this? The more you insist on something that doesn't represent you, the harder life seems. But when you align yourself, even if you don't know what the next step will be, doors open with ease. This is not magic, it's resonance. You attract what is in your field. And that's why you can't lie to yourself for long. Your soul can no longer be in places that don't match your light. No matter how comfortable they seem, how much you have already invested, how much you fear change. Your energy now demands truth, and truth transforms everything. Even your relationships change, conversations become deeper, shallow connections disappear, meetings become rarer but much more meaningful. You begin to understand who stays out of habit and who stays out of vibration. And this frees you because you realize that you no longer need to please to be loved. You no longer need to contain your intensity to be accepted. You no longer need to dim your light to avoid blinding anyone. You begin to live out loud. And the most amazing thing is that the world doesn't reject you. The world recognizes you, as if by showing who you really are, you finally allowed others to be that way too. And then magic happens. You start attracting people who speak the same language as your soul. Places where you don't need to explain yourself, opportunities that seem tailor-made for you. Not because you forced them, but because you supported your vibrations. And this, my friend, changes everything. Perhaps this is the true meaning of the word miracle. Not what comes from the outside, but what happens inside when you stop fighting who you are. And if you feel that you have come this far, know that you are not alone. There are thousands of people in the world who feel the same, tuning into their own purity, quietly awakening, moving away from everything false, turning to everything real, and their place is reserved. In fact, it has always been there. It was just waiting for you to remember. Now it's time to act, to transfer everything you have lived, felt, and understood into the plane of action. Knowing is no longer enough, being aware is no longer enough. It's time to put it into practice. Create rituals, set boundaries. Choose more consciously. Take care of what restores your strength. Let go of what has already completed its cycle. And most importantly, build a life that reflects your purity. Not the one the world expects, but the one your soul recognizes as home. If you feel ready, then take a deep breath because the next step will be practical, intimate, and transformative, a clear path of application so that everything you have learned here can be truly lived. See you when the time comes. You have come this far. And it was not by chance. Something inside you was called. A part that perhaps was dormant but never absent. You felt it. You felt every word, every silence, every veiled acknowledgement that echoed like a sacred truth, of those that are not learned but remembered. And now you are ready to turn everything you understood into direction, everything you felt into action, everything you awakened into a lived life. But how? How to bring that powerful spiritual energy that pulses within you into your daily life? How to protect your purity without isolating yourself? How to apply your sensitivity without losing yourself in excess? How to be yourself, even when the whole world seems to ask you to be someone else? The answer lies in small gestures, small but frequent, symbolic but deep, simple but powerful. So here is a strategic, emotional, and practical plan for you to integrate everything you have learned from this video not as another theory but as a daily choice. 1. Wake up with intention, not obligation. Before touching your mobile phone or fully opening your eyes, internally say, "Today I choose to live by my truth." This simple phrase changes the situation. It places responsibility on your soul. It restructures the day. It reminds you that you are here not to react to the world but to vibrate in harmony with what you feel. Throughout the day, you will understand, everything that begins with presence ends in peace. 2. Create a ritual of returning to the center. Choose a time of day. It can be morning, noon, or evening, and dedicate 5 minutes to yourself. 5 minutes. Turn everything off, close your eyes. Breathe deeply. Pay attention to your chest. Observe what is inside, without trying to change anything. At this moment, you are dusting off your soul. Here you separate what belongs to you from what belongs to the world. Here your sensitivity is reorganized. If you do this every day, even for just a few minutes, you will begin to feel a certain serene strength that depends on nothing but your presence. 3. Write down subtle signs. Keep a small notebook or digital notebook where you can write down 3 things a day. What you felt before it happened. Something you understood but no one commented on. A choice you made based on your feelings, not logic. This habit will strengthen your confidence in your intuition. Over time, it will show you that you already have an inner compass. You just need to learn to consult it. The world calls it coincidence. You will learn to call it communication of souls. 4. Leave gracefully. You don't need to justify leaving an environment that doesn't resonate with you. You also don't need to explain yourself to people who drain your energy. Learn to value the subtle exit. When something doesn't inspire you, step back. When someone confuses you, silence them. When a place tires you, leave. And do it lightly, with gratitude, with insight, because your purity is too precious to be exchanged for customs, guilt, or fear. 5. Restructure your yes and your no. Every time you say yes when you mean no, your soul weakens. And every time you say no with truth, something inside you blooms. Start practicing this. Breathe before answering. Feel before agreeing. Ask yourself, will this strengthen me or shatter me? The body knows, it always knows. 6. Surround yourself with what brings you order. Keep elements nearby that remind you of your essence. Music that calms your breath. A scent that clears your mind. An object that anchors you in the present. A place where your energy blooms. These anchors are maps for days of disorientation. Use them, touch them, breathe with them. And remember, you don't need to protect yourself from life. You just need to remember who you are, even when life tries to confuse you. 7. Share your presence. Without losing yourself, you don't need to save anyone. Your energy already does a lot just by being authentic. Offer to listen, offer to be silent, offer your presence. But know when it's time to return to yourself, and when that happens, return with love. You are a temple, but even a temple needs to close its doors to remain sacred. 8. Take care of your body as you do your spirit. Your body is the home of your energy. And the more sensitive your soul, the more important it is to take care of the matter. Sleep well, hydrate yourself, eat consciously, move gently, not as an aesthetic obligation but as an act of respect for the instrument that carries your light. 9. Write to clear the invisible. Take a pen and paper, and before going to sleep, write down everything that weighs on you. Everything you couldn't say. Everything you felt but kept secret. You don't need to reread it or understand it. Just write it. Writing is a ritual of transmutation. It turns chaos into clarity, pain into understanding, anger into release. 10. Trust life's pauses. Sometimes everything stops, people disappear, answers are delayed, things get confused. This is a sign that your energy is going through a reboot. Don't rush, don't force events, don't doubt yourself. The pause is fruitful. It's in the silence that the true paths open. If you follow this plan not as a rigid rule but as a loving path, your energy will begin to restructure from within, and inevitably the world around you will respond. But even if, despite all this, you feel that you need a daily point of support, something simple but deep, something that can guide you step by step, something you can touch, feel, turn to when you want to find yourself again. So, with an open heart, I invite you to meet the ebook The UD Jung Method. 5 minutes a day for inner peace and mental clarity. It was created to be more than just reading material. It's an intimate space, a gentle mirror, a practical refuge for souls like yours, who feel too much, think too much, give too much, and sometimes lose themselves. Here you will find practical exercises based on Jung's teachings, adapted to your daily life with ease and depth. Small rituals that fit into 5 minutes but can completely change the tone of your week. If you feel the call, the link is in the comments section attached to this video. In time, you will know if this is the next step for you. And now, with everything that has been said, with everything that has been felt, I ask you for only one thing: don't keep this to yourself. If this video touched you, like it so that it reaches other souls that are also awakening. If something you heard here moved you, please comment, even anonymously. Your voice can be the reflection that someone else needs to see themselves. And if you haven't yet become part of our community, subscribe to the channel Planitude in Reflection. Here, every video is a whisper of the soul, a reminder that you are not alone and that even in silence, your light remains a beacon. You are special. And now it's time to live as you know it. See you soon.